In this video we're going to look at the main handle to the Blacksmith calipers. Our starting stock is approximately 13 inches of 3/4 wide by 3/16 thick, and note this is not a 3:1 ratio or better, so pay attention when you're forging on edge. Fuller in about 1/4 inch behind a 2-inch taper or so to the end. Take the fullers down to 1/8 inch depth or so and then get rid of any lipping and cupping. Straighten the bar. Create another taper along the parent bar for about 2 or 2.5 inches beyond the fuller depressions. Going to fuller in again at about a 3.5 inch mark beyond the initial fullers. Again, take the depth down to about 1/8 inch or so and then dress any lipping or cupping. Create a third taper along the parent bar for about 1 inch. This is a very gradual taper. Once you've got your third taper in place, go back to your second taper and just put a couple of chisel marks, one top, one bottom, and those are going to be your training wheels. We're going to split between those two marks. I do most of my cutting on the flat face of the anvil, and then I bring in the plate when I feel like I'm going to break through. Working on the face, I feel I have more control over the process, only needing the plate when I'm cutting through. My chisel has round edges, so you'll notice I'm standing the chisel up at an angle when I'm at the front and the back of my cut, just to drive those round edges into the cut a little bit. To open the cut, I'm going to drive it onto my chisel. I'm going to drop my chisel into my hardy. Notice I've got plenty of clearance between the tip of my chisel and the hammer handle, and then I'm just going to offer up the split and with the cross peen drive down on each side, trying to open up that split a little bit at a time. Moving the chisel to the vise, I continue the same sort of work. Drive the piece onto the chisel, and then at some stage I'm going to drive from the end of the bar to open up one end of the cut. We'll come in later when everything's cold and clean up that transition with a file. Once you're happy with the chisel split, then we're going to concentrate on the little embellishment that holds the rivet. I'm going to fuller in twice. Once at the top of that small taper that we created earlier, taper 3, and then about 1 inch back from that. So 2 sets of fuller grooves. Once you've got your second set of fuller depressions, just take your hammer and the edge of the anvil and round that isolated mass into a little ball. My next step is to punch a hole in the middle of that, so it's going to change the shape a little bit as I punch. But you could also drill. Both are fair game, I believe. I punch small, 3/16 for example, and then I drift it out to not quite 1/4 inch round. Once I've got the hole where I want it, I'm going to take a square drift, 1/4 inch square, and I'm going to drive that through the hole. My drift is not upset, it is 1/4 inch on the money, allowing for a little file room when everything has cooled down. Changing ends with your tongs, we're going to come in about 3/4 inch, as much as the bar is wide, and we're going to isolate another couple of fuller grooves. Then we're going to dress the end into either a round or a teardrop shape, depending on what you want. I punch a hole and then I drift it to 5/16 or 3/8, allowing it to hang on a 1/4 inch rod on the side of the wall. This technique of fullering in and leaving a square mass and then manipulating it to round is quite handy. Let's have a look at making a ball. In this case I just fullered in from 2 sides, isolating a tab on the end, and now I'm just creating a ball. You'll see this technique in a future project. Split the handle material much as you did before and open it out into a nice lazy ellipse. Once you've got your handle sorted out, flip your tongs to the other end of the bar and we're going to open up the split for the caliper ends. Split the ends and then go to the vise and dress the inside of the cut, especially the root, because we're going to open this cut out and we need that root protected. I drive the chisel in from the top, equalizing the cut, and then I come in with the side of the chisel just to give it a half round. Open the arms out, and as soon as you've done that, it's time to turn your attention to the independent arms of the calipers. Using the same parent stock, I want you to draw an 8-inch taper to the 3/4 by 3/16 bar. Dress the taper on the face of the anvil and chamfer the corners, and then we're going to bend the bottom 4 inches over the bick. That's it for part 1. I'll see you in part 2 for assembly and bench work.